What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Opendoor. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down what's really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Open is up 3.04%, 421 the low, 493 the high. So a lot of volatility. As far as volume, 245 million shares being traded within the first 3 hours of the trading day. 370 is the average. So it seems to be kind of bottomed for today, starting to move higher. Reason why it did go higher and spiked was because of this. So there wasn't any official news, but there was a Form 4 that did come out showing that the president, 𝗪𝗧𝗧, if I'm saying that right, did purchase stock, and that's using their own money, transaction code P. Not all that much, so 28,000 right here, and both were done on the 28th, but 28,000 shares and then 1,600 shares. In reality, this is a pretty big positive sentiment booster because this individual doesn't need to buy any because they already do have 4.2 million shares. But nonetheless, I think this was a pretty good thing. It wasn't scheduled, so it was more kind of randomly done, which again is pretty positive. But aside from that, there really hasn't been all that much in official news. Even scouring through social media, just a lot of people very hopeful. And I think the whole cult mentality. So this is what now is up for debate, whether, I guess, meme versus cult, what is better? And a lot of people always see Tesla and their investors as more of a cult-like following. And we all generally know what happened to Tesla. So I think even though cult technically had a very negative viewpoint, even from myself, previous videos, I did mention that being considered a cult isn't a good thing, but after, I guess, second thought, it's maybe not that bad of a type of scenario. So at the end of the day, though, it's kind of moving higher. A couple things that's really plaguing the market today is this. I'm not going to butcher this name, so 𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗛 or whatever it else. So that's affecting the market. So that's effective today, so on the 29th, as well as PCE coming in line with expectations. Michigan consumer sentiment slightly lower than the forecast. Nothing overly crazy. So in reality, it's more so that's what's affecting a lot of the market. And just generally, people are correlating this with the pretenses of the dirty 30s. So aside from that, though, shorts are returning 1.22 million shares. So by analyzing this, it kind of does validate that today's green day is justified. So because technically shorts could be easily doubling down in some cases. One thing to take note of, though, which could be one reason why shorts are returning, is because through IBKR, it does indicate that there is 0 shares available to be shorted. So last time that this did happen, Opendoor went up like 15+%. So I think the kind of circumstances are there for Opendoor to continue to move higher. But nonetheless, 24.13% of the free floats being shorted works out to be 158.79 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average 8.26%, so a little bit higher than what it has been over the last little bit. But looking at the options, 24 million in calls, 5.35 million in puts, and then 47% of all the options being done today are bullish in nature. And that definitely does stand out because most of the options being done across the board are relatively negative. And again, I think that's because of kind of the things I did bring up. But clearly, in Opendoor's case, big money does see a lot more upside. And it's kind of interesting, though. You always do see a lot of individuals that just say, hey, don't buy options, only buy the stock and whatever else. I feel like that's a very much AMC squeeze type of mentality, because when it comes down to options, it directly does not affect the stock price. Keep in mind a little bit of an asterisk. Directly. So indirectly it does, and that's come closer to the expiry kind of scenario. So in my opinion, you do whatever the hell floats your boat. Don't listen to other people that say just buy stock, the common stock. If you want to do options, you can do options. For those of you that bought options when it was at $2, even if you bought the $3 or $4 strike prices, you made a ton of money, a lot more than what you would have holding just common stock. So again, do whatever you think is best. In my opinion, I'm a big options trader, so I prefer options because again, you can make a lot better return on investment. But again, whatever you guys do, whatever floats your boat. Looking at the call options that is being done so far today, looks like there's a consensus for it to close roughly around that $5 range. Bears are anticipating for it to close between that $4 to $4.50. As far as the open interest though, this is where things get very interesting. So best case scenario, Opendoor does close above 5 or even 5.50 or potentially even 6. Or I guess technically, if you want to consider it, best case scenario is a lot higher, but this is the open interest. So you have 29,000 at the 350, 25,000 at the 4, 58,000 at the 450, and then 80,000 at that 5. So when it comes down to this type of scenario, you could see a gamma squeeze play out. So ultimately just kind of watch for a lot of these strike prices as key resistance levels where shorts might try to wake up a little bit. These are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. So somewhat evenly divided, as you can kind of see. So anything that does show as a ask is a buy, anything that shows as a bid is a sell. So somewhat evenly divided in my opinion. Aside from that, these are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool. Dark pool is often enough used by hedge funds as well as shorts. So this is where they're kind of hiding a lot of their transactions, but very, very popular of a exchange, as you can kind of see, still scrolling. So a lot of big stuff, a lot of big money paying attention to Opendoor, which is always a positive thing for any momentum stock. And I do feel Opendoor right now, given the circumstances, is a pretty big momentum play. But right now with that 443, it is above this pivot point of 438. So again, another element to watch for, and best case scenario is for it to close above that 438, which in my opinion, given that it's recovering from the lows, I think that it's fair to assume that it will. So 515 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. Whether that is hit today or going into next week, that's yet to be seen. But I feel like there is definitely a lot more upside with Opendoor given just everything. Right now, like I said, no available shares to be shorted, no new analyst ratings on a side note. So still a lot of speculation as far as who the new CEO is. But if insiders keep buying, then yeah, that's going to be a pretty big sentiment booster. And yeah, you never know, if more and more insiders buy, then this could just skyrocket like crazy, because with a cult seeing this type of activity, that's going to really hype people up. Aside from that, no new real articles coming out. And then aside from all that fun stuff on the actual chart, it is above the ALMA, signaling that it does want to kind of reverse and start to move higher because of the recent activity and a lot of volatility. You see stochastic RSI in the neutral category, so it's not really overbought anymore. So that's kind of a good thing, in my opinion, could really help to push it higher. But still, like I mentioned, just watch for a lot of those key elements to watch for. So at least for right now, 450 for it to get above. And that's linked to options. And then right over here, this 438, and that's more linked to the technicals. I know a lot of people don't really like to look at technicals when they're thinking of a squeeze play or a momentum play, but I myself, I do. I think it does matter, and conveniently, usually when Opendoor or any other stock going up or down, it kind of gravitates and flirts with these points. So just watch for today for it to close above 438 at the very bare minimum. So let me know your viewpoint. Do you think that this is a squeeze play? Do you think that it is going to squeeze? And what would be that catalyst to really justify and push that higher? So let me know your thoughts on Opendoor. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, as I've mentioned in the past, Moomoo does have a lot of good new updates, one being algorithmic trading. So for those of you that are wanting to try algorithmic trading, which is a unique opportunity for retail, just click on the link in the description below, sign up, and plus if you do deposit $100, they give you $50 back. So this is a pretty good kick-ass promo if you ask me. Nice return on investment. Then you could use that extra $50 and buy more Opendoor. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on that. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And with all that, appreciate all of you watching.